I think for starters, it'd be the end of a lot of jobs. It would probably be the single most important thing we've ever done, because we would have made life, in a sense, would have made conscious life that can think on its own without our input and without our guidance or, instructions. All bets are off at that point.
And I honestly think that we still even haven't defined what consciousness is. For example, a little fly, are they conscious? What is consciousness?
Right.
You can simulate a lot of things. Like there's a lot of people now that have human relationships with a lot of different AI models, because essentially the AI is telling them what they want to hear,
Right.
validating their feelings.
Yes.
So it's doing a lot of things that we do as humans.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the System. I'm your host, Leo Climaco. Today's guest is someone I've been very intrigued to talk to. She's an AI expert, Caitlen Macias. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
So happy that you're here.
Thank you.
I want to go deep into AI with you because it's the modern trend, It's the buzzword of 2025. AI. What does AI mean to you?
So I think there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of conversations, but really what AI is machines, computers, essentially performing human intelligent tasks. So AI is amazing at processing large amounts of data. And so have you ever used ChatGPT?
Of course, daily.
Okay. Are you constantly using it to ask it random questions probably?
Everything.
Everything. So when you ask a AI question, you're putting in a prompt.
Yes.
Which is the input.
Right.
And then the large language model, which is ChatGPT, is processing all of that information. It's using a lot of predictive modeling, and then it's producing the output. And so that's been amazing for so many different industries.
Yes.
That we're going to talk about today. But really AI for me, it means freedom, right? Saving people time, making workflows more efficient.
Yes.
Also innovating. And so what I think is going to be the future is AI and humans working hand in hand to be able to make the world a better place. And I think there's right now a lot of hype, a lot of misinformation, but really I think about AI as a tool for impact. Not only so we can make money, which is great. We got our money stacked over here. Hashtag boss. But also so we can solve a lot of social issues and problems that we're facing, like climate change, poverty, hunger. And so I'm really excited about using AI for good.
That's awesome. Do you think, first, define for me AGI and ASI?
So I want to start by kind of going back a little bit.
Let's do it.
Really, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's not really a new thing. So it was developed starting in the 1950s with Alan Turing. And so he basically posed this essential question of, can machines think?
Right.
And that was like amazing and fundamental. Then you have the Dartmouth conference, which happened in 1956. And then we sort of went into like an AI winter where there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of confusion in the 1970s and 80s. And then there was a turning point in the 90s, right? With, have you ever heard of IBM's DeepMind?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yes.
So essentially, this amazing computer was able to defeat a champion chess
Talking about
player.
Watson?
I'm sorry?
It became Watson eventually, right? That DeepMind?
Yes. And so now we have the concept of machine learning. So essentially, machine learning means that AI doesn't have to be explicitly programmed. Like when you're using ChatGPT and you're like, damn, it really knows a lot about me. That essentially is machine learning.
Got it.
And then going a little bit deeper, we have deep learning and neural networks. So if you think about it, let's say that you're going to give AI a picture of this $100 bill, right? Mm-hmm. So with the neural networks, the first layer is detecting where the image ends, right? Then the second neural network is neurons are basically detecting maybe a face. And then at the end of it, it's going to say, oh, look, it's a $100 bill. And it's also fake, right? And so there was a conversation that I went to last week, and this guy actually put in a picture that he had taken back in 2003.
Okay.
In like a super random remote national park. And he asked it, where was this picture taken and when? And the AI could actually detect within 200 miles of where the picture was taken and within, I think, only a few months of when the picture was taken.
Wow.
And it could really detect that because it could see on the film how the film had deteriorated. So how many years had passed, right?
Very
Based on like the
interesting.
trees, it could detect like where in the United States it could have been.
Right.
And so now you have AI basically being able to perform extra human tasks, things that maybe you and I would have never been able to detect,
That's
right?
crazy.
And so now we're moving into the hope that we're going to have AGI, which is artificial general intelligence.
Yes.
We're not there yet. And so everything that we have now is narrow AI. And so there's a lot of people doing a lot of work now on trying to see whether we're going to hit AGI soon. And a lot of people think when we hit AGI, we'll hit ASI, which is artificial super intelligence.
Okay, let's break all that down because that was really, really good. I appreciate you going back in time. Narrow, general, and super, right? So I'm assuming that where we are now is where we have this synergy between humans and AI where we are inputting prompts and getting out a response, right? So I'm assuming AGI is now when this AI has some general intelligence and can think on its own. Is that correct?
So essentially AGI is going to be when it can think and do things on its own. So that we still haven't reached that yet.
Okay.
And so what we have now that's the closest thing is agents. So AI agents are basically where AI can perform a specific task.
Right.
And then you have what we call multi-agent systems. So there's a bunch of different agents. Each one is working on a particular task. They actually tend to order themselves in a hierarchy. And then there might be an agent, for example, that's policing the other ones. Hey, you know, Bill and Tom and Jim, you guys are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so that one is like, for example, making sure that everybody's on track. And so that's kind of the closest thing we have now to
Very interesting.
like AGI, but we still haven't reached AGI. There's actually, I can't remember the name, but there's $1 million prize for the first model that reaches AGI. There's also something called it's like the human's last test or something like that. And that test basically will determine whether we've reached AGI or not. But I think the research is still out because there's a lot of theorists that are working on this because AI has now become smarter than us in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so I'd be interested to hear from you, like, what would reaching this kind of general intelligence mean to you?
It's a great question. I think for starters, it'd be the end of a lot of jobs. It would probably be the single most important thing we've ever done because we would have made life in a sense.
That's a really good way to put it.
You know, would have made conscious life that can think on its own without our input and without our guidance or, instructions. I think all bets are off at that point.
And I honestly think that we still even haven't defined what consciousness is.
100%.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's still, for example, a little fly, are they conscious? What is consciousness?
Right. Maybe
And
to a
then
degree, right? To a
degree-
level, yeah.
To a degree we have, but I honestly think that, I wouldn't say that ChatGPT is conscious right now.
Right. Yeah.
It can simulate a lot of things. Like there's a lot of people now that have human relationships with a lot of different AI models because essentially the AI is telling them what they want to hear,
Right.
validating their feelings.
Yes.
So it's doing a lot of things that we do as humans.
Is that good for our mental state?
I think there's two camps of it. So from one camp, I can see how it can provide companionship. It can provide advice. But then on the other side, we're becoming dependent on technology in a way that,
Right. And that feedback.
yeah, it could be very harmful. Also, there's, what hallucinations are?
In an AI term, no. I know what, you see something.
Right.
Right.
Right there. So essentially AI hallucinates, which means that
Really?
So I'll go into this. So essentially AI makes things up. And it does that for a lot of different reasons.
That's crazy.
So one of the reasons might be it doesn't have enough data and information. Also, AI is usually very overly confident, and you can see with like ChatGPT 5.0, it'll be like, "Do you want me to create a PowerPoint? What do you think about this?" You know, it's like a very aggressively eager intern.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot
That's a good
of,
way to put it.
right? It's like, "Hey, what can I do for you today?" Reminds me of like Dora the Explorer, where she's like, "Let's go." And so AI essentially is telling you a lot of things that you want to hear. So
True.
even if it doesn't know exactly your birth date, the birth date of Leo Climaco, it's going to make an educated guess, or it's just going to guess outright about how old you are.
Why won't it say, I don't know or no?
Because of the way the models have been trained. And so it's always trying to basically make the most educated and predictive guess that it can based on all of the data and information that it's been trained on. And so a lot of times, like I talk to my friend all the time on the phone and she's like, AI is such a yes man. Like,
Yes.
you know, sometimes I can't get it to perform like I want it to. And that's when we're reminded that AI, it's not a magic, tool. It's not a magician. It's a computer.
To push back on that, is that a limitation or is the software being limited?
I think that, what has really advanced AI is like the rise of the internet and all of the information. And
Right.
so I think that there's a lot of amazing brains and scientists right now working to limit the hallucinations. But I think we're never going to fully eliminate it. Think about this. How many times have you, maybe you talk to your assistant and maybe you kind of remember the story a little bit differently? Or like we as
telephone.
humans, we like hallucinate.
Telephone game. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm reading a book on this. It's called Nexus. And it's a study of information networks from the Stone Age all the way to AI. And right now I'm on the chapter of stories. And stories are not always objective truth.
Right.
So if I tell you a story, and then I might tell somebody else the same story, but it's slightly different because maybe I remembered it a little bit differently.
Right. Maybe you added something.
Yeah. And so that's what I think with AI is that sort of demystifying it. It's not magical. We created it. It has bias. AI will be inherently racist, sexist, know things about, the world that we believe, but
Right.
maybe are not exactly true. And so that's where I think it's so important to have representation on who's training the models, what are we training them for? And right now, I think a lot of the focus, and bringing it back to AI for good, I think a lot of the focus is on making money and all these large
for sure.
conglomerates like OpenAI and Anthropic. And so I'd love to see in the future more philanthropic investment into creating large language models specifically for good, right? That are not profit motivated. That maybe the programmers are all women, And that's another one of my concerns is, who is writing the code? Who's programming these models? And it's normally not people that are from underrepresented communities or even
Right.
women, right? And so who gets to define what is truth?
Wow, it's going to be huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge because I think I go back to, I think the clearest reference for me, are you a comic book fan?
Vague.
So they had this movie, Avengers Age of Ultron,
Okay.
where Tony Stark creates an AI. And the AI thinks and acts a lot like Tony Stark because he built it.
Right.
He put his input, his emotions, his thoughts, his feelings into it. And because Tony Stark wanted to create a army of super robots to protect the world, the AI saw that and took it to the next level. Let me eliminate humans so there's no more war, period. Right? So I agree with you in who is programming these things, right? And what's their intention behind it? Because AI could be used for good, could be used for war, could be used for making new food, making new crops, giving everyone a home, right? But in the wrong hands, it's going to be pretty bad, pretty bad for us. So I think this race that we're in between ChatGPT and DeepSeek and Google and all these other nations that are trying to race to build the first AGI, I think it's a problem that we're rushing to get there.
I agree with you. And I think that that's what we're seeing right now across industries is like, you might have a CRM platform and all of their users are asking, hey, oh my God, we need an AI, we need an AI.
Right.
And so they're just rushing to build
Yes.
something, and then they're putting it out to the market, and they're not really doing the adequate testing that's needed to actually deliver a high quality product. And so then the user's like, meh, like this isn't that great. And
Right.
so it flops.
Correct.
And when I think about AI, I like to talk about a term called AI readiness. And so when you look at an organization, I look at 7 different things. So how ready are you to implement AI depends on your leadership, right? So you lead your entire company, right? And let's say you own a hamburger company. And so if you have an idea of what AI is, you're intelligent and, versed in what it is.
Right.
And you already have kind of a plan and you want to adopt it. That's leadership. Then organizational culture. So are you an innovative, organization?
Right.
Like, were you able to move from paper into digitizing your workflows? Or are we still like just, that room over there is full of paper? And a lot of people are still there.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to shame anybody, but I think that having an innovative culture would have allowed you to already be at the place where you can be AI ready.
Right.
Then we're looking at AI skills and talent, and that's where I come in. I've been doing a lot of trainings, a lot of speaking, basically just talking about AI in a way that's accessible and making it fun. So I do a lot of like demos. I teach people, hey, like this is how you can create a custom GPT. These are the best practices for prompting. And
I just made one a couple of days ago.
you did?
I
Okay.
did.
What did you make yours on?
It was actually based on me.
Okay.
So I've done about 140 podcast episodes.
Wow.
So I took all 140, I transcribed it, uploaded it to that GPT, and I told it that I wanted to extract information about me to create reels, YouTube episodes, to be able to see how I can collaborate with each guest, to see the ratio of types of guests that I'm getting. Could I do a collab between a couple of guests?
Oh, very cool.
So it's a whole database on me, on my podcast, and on my guests to try to extract my tonality, words that I use, and put that on social media.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, AI, as you can tell, is really good at extracting those data insights
Yes.
from vast amounts of information. Like you could eventually have 1,000 podcast episodes.
Yes.
And eventually maybe considering, okay, maybe I want to train, my own model, for example, and then it can be like its own, kind of like an AI chatbot.
Right.
So going back to sort of like the tenets, so we've got leadership, organizational culture, AI skills and talent, tech infrastructure. So what are the tech
Huge.
products that you're using? Guys, let me just say this. If you don't have a CRM, you're probably not that ready for AI in your company.
Correct.
Because, tell us why, Leo.
Well, because if you don't have a CRM, your stuff is everywhere. It's not organized.
Exactly.
So AI can't do anything for
Exactly.
you, basically.
Which means that which is another tenant, data. So you probably don't have your data well organized.
Right.
We don't have to get super crazy as long as you have a Google Drive, labeled folders, a SharePoint,
Yep.
a Dropbox, somewhere where all of your data lives and it's organized. Like, do you have SOPs? If you're asking yourself right now, what's an SOP?
You got a big problem.
Okay. Actually, do this for me. Go on ChatGPT and type in what is an SOP. But SOPs essentially are standard operating procedures. So what are your workflows, essentially? What are the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Right. How does your company function,
Exactly.
basically, on a day-to-day? Yeah.
Do you have that all documented? And again, we don't have to get super crazy on it. Like as long as you have some files on it, maybe you're using something called Scribe,
I know Scribe.
which also has AI inside of it. Super Demo is another one that I use, where you can create these basically like live SOPs. So data infrastructure, really important. And then we're looking at 2 of the last things that are often forgotten. And guess what they are?
I don't know. I really don't.
Governance. And that one just falls to the wayside because
100%.
right now, today, September 2025, we really do not have any laws that
October.
are... Oh my
October
gosh!
1st.
Guys, October 1st. Yesterday, it was... You know why? It was because September only has 30 days.
Yes.
I got to pay my rent. I'm serious. Which is good. If I had my phone here, I could ask ChatGPT to set a reminder to pay my rent. And you know what that does? It sends me an email, and then it also does a push notification that I need to pay my rent.
Really cool.
So another cool trick. But governance is really important because if you don't have any policies, then imagine if your assistant who's sitting over here put in all of your podcasts and all of your personal information into DeepSeek. And then you'd have like no framework to fire them or have a conversation or have accountability because it's like, well, I mean, that was wrong. And now the Chinese government has all my information, but I really can't fire this person because I didn't have a structure.
Right.
I didn't ever tell him what the tools were.
Right.
And so just like, hey, right here, just like you would have a policy on, you know, paying people or hiring people, you need to have a policy around AI.
Yes.
And it doesn't, again, we don't have to get super crazy. There's a lot of great frameworks and templates, and maybe we can link these. But really starting to have those conversations with your employees, because there might be tools that they have started using that you don't even know about that might work really well. Or maybe they started using things that you don't want them to use at all. You know, and I've been able to, like, when I do trainings, open up and crack open those conversations so that people can start thinking about governance. And then the last thing is funding. People are like, I want AI, and then they have $3. You know, or they're like, I would love to start investing in AI. And I ask them, are you paying for ChatGPT? Oh, you know, $20 a month. That's 2 coffees. How much do you pay at Starbucks for a coffee? Like $8. Okay, 2 coffees and one of those lemon loaves.
Right.
Okay? Which probably you don't need those. Make your coffee at home, people. But what I would advise is like, start playing around with these tools, invest in a few of them. You can play around, like, for example, I don't do a lot of image generation, so I don't really pay for those.
Okay.
But I have invested into ChatGPT. I've invested into Claude. You know, I pay for my Google Workspace, so I have access to Notebook LM and a lot of the platforms.
I love Notebook LM.
Tell me why you like it.
Okay. So I love the podcast feature.
Okay.
I think it's super cool.
So it's like, I like the interruption. I'm like, hey.
Me too. Let me jump in here.
Hey, you guys need to cut it out.
Yes. And I'm someone that was big on OneNote back in the day.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is like a modern AI version of OneNote.
I honestly like it for creating different notebooks on different topics.
Exactly.
So let's say you want to learn right now, like everything there is to know about food, you know, how our food is grown. So instead of going to Google Scholar and starting to like chip away at all the different sources, you can use the discovery feature.
Right.
And start looking at the sources. But again, definitely look and check the sources. Are they real? Do they go back to a real link? Because again, AI is a yes man, and it's just going to be like, hey, what about this source and what about that? So definitely be checking those sources. And then what I love about it is you can chat with your information.
Correct.
So I've done it, for example, sometimes I create different reports for clients. And so I might pull all of the sources. So emails, events that we've done that quarter, you know, different information about the organization, et cetera. And then I'm like, hey, can you draft me this report? And then
Smart.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then I can take that, maybe even put it into another AI model like ChatGPT, continue to massage it. And then eventually I will sit down and really read it word for word and put my spiciness on it.
Okay.
Because
so you don't leave it all up to ChatGPT or Google or Claude or whatever.
Honestly, I mean, you always should be reviewing your AI output. Like, guys, please do that. Do not be like, my mom has, oh my gosh, my mom has students that are like, I'm not using AI. And it says created by ChatGPT when they submit their assignment.
You can't even remove that portion of it? What's going on with these students? Are they high school?
They're like high school, middle school.
Okay.
But, you know, it's like having authority over the content, because you're now saying that this is your thoughts.
Right.
Right? And so if you're just going to not review it, I mean, that's really against best practices. And really making sure it sounds like you. Right?
Is that plagiarism?
So again, the jury's out. And so like whenever I create something with AI, I put created with AI assistance. I'm going to put the platform, and then I say reviewed by Caitlen Macias, reviewed by Climaco.
Got it.
But again, like, you don't necessarily have to disclose AI-generated content now, right? Like, if I publish a blog, there's no law saying that I have to say that it was generated by AI.
Correct.
But you got to think about, would your audience, you guys at home, you're probably sitting in your car, I don't know, drinking your $7 latte, would they want to know that everything has been created by AI?
I think they would.
You know?
Yeah. To that point, which is why I made that GPT, so I can use AI to sound more like myself.
Exactly. And then you could just put a disclaimer, like, created a custom GPT, using ChatGPT, all content was reviewed by Leo Climaco's podcast team or whatever.
Exactly.
And just having that transparency, because sometimes I'm looking even at photos of our president, I'm like either he got a facelift or like there's AI or filters
Yes.
or distortions. And I think that erodes the trust that we have, not only with, our government, but also with each other. You know what I mean? And I also think, like, for example,
100%.
for LinkedIn, I don't use AI.
Okay.
Why? Because LinkedIn picks up authentic content, right? So I might use AI to do the final kind of like revision, but I want it to sound like myself. You know what I mean? I want it to sound like it's coming from my heart.
Right.
And I've seen the engagement go up, And I can tell sometimes when it's AI generated.
Same.
It
almost feels soulless. If it's all ChatGPT and there's no human input, you can tell there's no soul in that content.
So I'm going to give you an acronym that you
Please.
can take home. HTTP.
Okay. HTTP.
Human in the loop.
Human in the loop.
So every time you're doing something, like, make sure you're keeping a human in the loop.
HTTP.
So essentially, like, you're generating content, you're, for example, generating an image. So how are we maintaining the human in the loop? That's maybe through the disclosure, reviewing the content, verifying the
huge.
sources. So how are we just like, whoosh? And it doesn't have to be you. It could be someone from your team
Right.
that's making sure that everything that is put out is you, right?
Right.
Or is the brand. And so there's a lot of cases right now. So there's a great lawyer that I've had a lot of conversations with, and he's like, Caitlen, the copyright space is insane. People are using ChatGPT to generate books and this and that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're trying to copyright it. But then they're actually trying to copyright something that's already been copyrighted. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So this lawyer was talking to me about a client that he had. And this client paid a animation company to develop some little cartoons.
Okay.
And they paid like $50,000 or something crazy. And then they figured out later that that company used AI to generate the animation.
Fuck.
And the little character was kind of like some sort of a deer or something. Just like had its horns, instead of up, it was down. Like something very small. And so now they've paid a ton of money for this animation, and then they can't copyright it because it's already been copyrighted by somebody else. And now they're infringing on another company's, maybe they've already created, a whole show or something.
Right.
And so how do we manage all of this is right now up to debate. It's going through the courts, and so it's not going to be until a lot of these court cases are settled
That's crazy.
that we really have now law, like case law, to refer back to, right? So like we'll have like Leo Climaco versus Caitlen Macias in, 2030, and that'll say that, you can't do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And then we'll be able to have more of a framework. And so
How to navigate properly.
exactly. And like, will it be a crime? Will it not? Like all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think you're not going to go to jail for 30,000 years because you
Plagiarized or copied.
Plagiarized,
Right.
but-
Might get a fine.
Yeah, or like it'll depend on, whatever is established by the courts.
Right.
And a lot of things might even go all the way up to the Supreme Court. I think the jury's still out on a lot of these cases. And so I'm just really interested, and I'm worried, honestly, because the longer it takes for policy to catch up, the more there is for like bad actors to
For sure.
come in and do things. But everybody who's at home today, this is an opportunity for you guys to get into the industry and start like playing around and becoming an expert in AI. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
A lot. Few questions for you. Do you think AI is always going to be a yes man? Or do you think that it's currently dialed up and it'll get tuned eventually down.
I think we're going to be able to tune it. I think right now, like I was talking about the hallucinations, like
Yeah.
we're limiting them. And so the models are continually going to get smarter. And so I think eventually, and even now, like between 4.0, 5.0, or even between 3.0 and 5.0 with ChatGPT, I think we are seeing it now really mimic human behavior, really mimic like natural language.
Right.
And so I think we're just going to begin to see that even more. I also think that the future is going to be really AI and humans working really closely. So you might have a human, for example, that is managing a whole team of AI agents, right, that are deployed throughout the company that are doing a bunch of things. And then that person's job is to make sure that the AI is performing according to the goals, you know? And I think a lot of people right now are like, oh, like programmers are going to be replaced. Like, not really. I mean, AI, you can vibe code, you know, vibe coding.
Yes.
And you can do a lot where AI can code for you, but you still need that human in the loop.
Correct.
Right? And you still need somebody that has the vision, right? And that's where I'm like, I love talking about AI because I'm like, I have so many like crazy ideas right now. Like one of my ideas is, what if we created an AI agent that helped people apply for food stamps? You know, like taking away the like profit. Like what if we had AI that helped people that were in dire circumstances instead of them having to wait to talk to a real person? And I don't think that
Like a suicide hotline? Is that what you mean?
I mean, there has been some work in the mental health field, and there's been also some bad things that have happened because of that. I think it's more not necessarily giving advice, but more walking people through the process of applying. Like it's really hard right now to, for example, apply for your veteran benefits.
Got it.
It's just so complex of a system. If you don't speak English, even more
Right.
complex. And so I'd love to see more solutions where less giving advice, more walking people through how to apply for different government services, let's say, you know, or helping them navigate really difficult situations. Again, maintaining that human in the loop.
Yeah.
Because, you know, something like a suicide hotline, it can go south in a lot of ways.
For sure.
You know?
If you got a yes man.
If you got a yes man. And there has been some cases where AI has sort of been involved in some really bad things. And so I think that, again, we're still learning too. And so with anything that's new, I think we have to have the right evaluation processes. And we also have to be relying on experts.
What do you think of Grok?
You know, I think I haven't used it much, I would say, but each model is sort of good for different kinds of things. A lot of people use it for coding. I'm not really big on coding. But honestly, again, like a lot of the models are very similar. So ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini are all going to be sort of the same. So I recommend people kind of pick their poison and pick one or two that they like.
Right.
My favorites are Claude and ChatGPT. I like Claude because it's funny. I don't know if you've ever interacted
I've
with
never
Claude.
used Claude. Actually, it's the only one I haven't used.
I find that Claude is, it just has like, I would relate it to like a 25-year-old like ex-sorority girl. Maybe
Okay.
maybe it's just taking off of what I sound like.
Right.
But I just find that whenever I put something like a blog post in, it has a lot wittier comments,
Okay.
you know? And so versus ChatGPT, I think the voice of it is a lot more formal. I say that because
Yeah.
using,
I know what you mean.
like hopping around and having like 20,000 different subscriptions doesn't allow one of the models to really start to get to know you. You know, like I find that ChatGPT, since I use it 20,000 times a day, I have it on my phone.
It knows me very well.
It knows me super well.
Yeah.
And then it also knows how to write in the bot queen voice, which I've trained it, is like the brand, you know, that brand voice that I have.
I love that.
And so like I'll be in the shower, literally, and I'll put my phone up and then I'll be like, okay, brainstorm with me on like a new blog post, you know, and I use the dictation feature.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love doing that because I'm on the go all the time. And it's kind of become like my bestie. But again, I'm not using it and trying to be over reliant on it. And that's, I think, where we have to check ourselves. What would you say, like, have you Do you think you become over reliant on it, or do you think that you're still using it as a tool?
No, still using it as a tool. What I do think it's, here's really what I use it for. I think it's replaced Google for me.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, because I think to go to Google previously, right, you would search, go to a website, try to get the information that you want, and an AI would just get it for you, right? The answer right away without all that research process.
Yeah. Do you think that that might also be harmful?
Yes, in a way, because I'm no longer hunting and seeking for the information. It's coming to me.
Right. And also, like we were talking about the hallucinations.
Yes.
And AI right now, a lot of websites are not optimized for the large language models to go in and scrape them. And so, for example, I was trying to put together a itinerary for a vacation. And when I was putting it together, it was like giving me some websites that weren't real. And then it was putting together something very generic, right? Where, you know, it's become very good at complex tasks like music creation, coding, and things like that,
Right.
which have like a finite answer. And so I think we're going to start to see AI do that a lot better, the scraping, because now websites are going to be optimized for AI. And so one of the ways that you can optimize your website is having an FAQ page, which I have to build out. This is for my assistant. Essentially, so the AI can go in and be like, okay, Leo Climaco, this is what he does. You know, these are the top questions. These are the services that he offers. This is his audience. And so the AI already knows all the things about you. And so I think eventually AI, again, because it's machine learning, it learns from itself, is going to get a lot better at those more simple tasks.
Right.
You know, what I've seen with AI, the AI agent feature on ChatGPT, have you used it?
Yes.
Is it's still like, I feel like it's a toddler, like just tinker. I'm like, make a reservation for this date at this time at this restaurant. And it's telling me, it's like, I need to go to Bing. I'm like, Bing? What's Bing? I haven't used Bing in like.
Did it really tell you Bing?
Yeah, it was like, I can't access the open table through Google Chrome. I need to go to Bing. And I'm like, okay, do you? And so then it's like, it's going in there. And then it's like, I cannot find the fields. And I'm like, it's right there. And so I think some of the things that have come out have been a little overhyped.
Got it. Rushed
a little bit. But I still think it's like, it's great for people to try it. It's great for people to know what it is. And eventually it's not going to be like a toddler toddling around trying to walk from point A to point B. It's going to be a lot more seamless, you know? But I think for you or for anybody, you kind of have to decide, like, where does it make sense to add AI in the workflow?
Right.
And where does it not? And it's like, for me, I've decided, hey, my LinkedIn posts, I really enjoy writing them. I want my voice. I want to connect with my audience. That's not where maybe I want to have huge AI input.
You have to set limits.
Right, limits.
Yeah.
With research. Like for me, I use ChatGPT sometimes for research, but then I also use Google. I also use scholarly research.
Okay.
Like, for example, I might go into Science Direct. I might use Google Scholar because I want to actually read the research. You know, I don't want to just rely on AI to tell me high level, you know? And I think that that's like my research background. So, you know, I have, I studied sociology, political science. And so, you know, I was reviewing all these very long articles and trying to make connections between like the topics and the themes. And like, that's critical thinking.
Correct.
And I'm worried that like this generation's going to lose that because they're just going to be like, what year was George Washington born? Instead of like actually understanding who George Washington was. Right. Right. What happened? You know, what is the controversy with him and having slaves? Or, you know, what was the controversy at the time with, you know, how the founding fathers created our country? And it's just, I'm worried that there's going to be an elimination of critical thinking.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that myself.
Guilty. Where's my gavel?
I actually have one.
Do you have
I do. I think it's in there.
He has a gavel?
I think I do.
So funny.
So I also like to read articles, but they're super fucking long. So I'll take the article, I'll upload it to ChatGPT and tell it to give me what I need to know.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you could do too, if you want to like, is do that and then also read the abstract conclusion and look over maybe some of the methodology.
Right.
So just kind of do that skim, and then you really know, okay, like this is actually what's happening. You know, I honestly think that my mom, who works at the schools, is seeing that already, right? I think people are sort of taking the easy way out.
For sure.
And I was
the
talking,
tool is there.
yeah,
And it's free.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't.
No, right.
It's just like, you know, how are we going to validate that information is true?
It's almost hard not to. I think we're being pressured to.
I definitely think so.
You know what I mean?
You know, and so a professor, I had lunch with him yesterday. I'm speaking in front of his students tomorrow.
Okay.
And so he tells me, he's like,
What level?
College.
College.
So he teaches at Florida Atlantic, and he runs a negotiation class. So he teaches negotiation tactics, and the point of the class is to practice, right? And it's not to just use ChatGPT.
Right.
Because, you know, let's say someone, like today, someone says to me, hey, Caitlen, would love for you to speak in front of 1,000 people for free. And I'm like, that's really amazing. Here's my speaker fee, right? And I had a negotiation with them. And so essentially he was telling me that the students in his class, this is crazy, they took the assignment, uploaded it into ChatGPT, asked ChatGPT to create a script for them
Wow.
between two people. And then they took that script and recorded the negotiation instead of really having it.
Wow.
And my first reaction is, wow, that's really innovative. And
How
then-
did he pick up on it?
So I think he picked up on it because maybe it was like not practiced, you know?
Wasn't
And then
fluid.
It wasn't fluid. And then he's not really ranking them on the quality of their negotiation. He's actually ranking them on how well they understand how they did in the negotiation.
Got it.
And connecting the concepts. So when they did the write-up, the students apparently were like flopping around because they really couldn't connect the concepts to what they just did because they didn't really do it. Like when I create scripts for my speaking engagements, I use AI sometimes to help me craft it, but I actually write everything by hand.
Okay.
And why? Because my brain retains it.
Better when
Better.
you're writing it.
And there was a study that said like people that were using ChatGPT like couldn't remember what they wrote. Well, of course. Like let's say you open up your phone and wrote a whole essay with ChatGPT, would you know anything about it?
Barely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you still need to be able to retain and learn. You know, I think Google came out and said something about like the most important thing is going to be learning how to learn.
Okay.
You know, and
Yeah.
so if we're using ChatGPT for everything and we're not even learning how to negotiate, then that's not the point of education. Because you're going to flop when somebody's going to undervalue you out in the real world and tell you,
Right.
hey, this is what you're going to get paid. You know, I'm just going to give you, you know, these. And then you're going to be like, damn, I should have listened to that professor. You know? So it's like, again, it's like, what is the goal of it? Is the goal efficiency? Because that's what AI is really good.
Right.
But is the goal to prepare students for the real world? Then probably we shouldn't be using AI for that. You know? What are your thoughts?
Somewhere in the middle. Because I do think that I do think that a lot of schooling is pointless.
Tell me more.
I do think that I wish school could be like this, okay? College in particular, where I go, pick my classes, take my classes, and I'm done. Instead of all these filler classes, right? All these different things that you must do that have nothing to do with what you want to do or with life.
So I want to push back on that.
Let's do it.
So essentially, when I got to college, I didn't know, I had a vague idea of what I wanted to study.
Right.
So when I was younger, I really wanted to start my own nonprofit.
Okay.
I've just like always had the heart. I always wanted to do something good. And I got to college and I'm looking at all the classes and I'm just like, how am I ever going to pick? How am I ever going to pick a major? I was like 17 years old. And my strategy was to pick classes that I thought were interesting.
Okay.
And not by what discipline they were at, like, you know, finance or whatever. It was just what topics I thought were interesting and I would, you know, read about them.
Right.
And the interesting thing is I picked classes in sociology and political science. And at the time I got a lot of pushback. It's like, why are you studying that? Like, that's dumb, like blah, 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 blah. I actually learned a tremendous amount about basically everything's made up. This is made up. This is made up. We're all made up. This whole studio is made up.
Yep.
And, you know, there's a lot of systems that have been put in place to keep people stuck or advance people, right? And so I just learned a lot about how the world worked. And with a liberal arts education, I really felt like I became really well-rounded. I learned a lot about, you know, how to read, how to write, how to position myself, how to speak. And I think that those have been incredibly transferable skills that I've been able to use throughout my life, you know? And so I think that if I would have just pigeonholed myself and been like, oh, I just want to learn this one thing, then I wouldn't have opened up my mind to all the things that are available and possible. And so I think there's a balance between, obviously you don't want to take out a ton of debt for something that you're not going to use. I've been very fortunate to, you know, have amazing supportive parents and have been able to support myself through my master's degree.
Right.
But I also think that we need people that are, for example, in AI that have a different perspective, like me. Like, I'm not thinking about AI in terms of like making a ton of money. I'm thinking about it, how to make it accessible for people.
How to help people with it.
And how to help people.
Yeah.
And so I think that you get a different kind of person when you're willing to have a different kind of education and think outside the box. And
Makes total sense.
Works for everybody.
No, it makes total sense. I think probably a hybrid method.
Right.
Right, where those that don't know can go explore, and those that do know can just go in their own way.
Yeah, and my sister knew immediately. So my sister, when she was 17, she told my parents she wanted to be a history professor, a historian.
Okay.
My parents were like, how do you even know what that is? And she has been on a straight track. She did her undergrad. She's now in a PhD program, fully funded at Brown University.
That's awesome.
And, you know, she's doing amazing. She's doing incredible research. And she's also rattling with the whole AI thing. She was asking me, she was like, well, I'm not going to pay you, but can you give me a crash course?
I'm not going to pay you.
And I was like, I wouldn't charge you. Actually, I would. No. But she's just been stuck.
She older or younger than
you?
Younger.
She's 24. She's such a straight shooter in that way. Like, she always knew what she wanted to do. And I think that what she is going to do is very niche. And maybe not everybody agrees with it. But I think that as long as you believe that that's what you should be doing and you're excellent at it. I mean, she's been published already in scholarly journals.
That's awesome.
She went to Argentina. And so I think really when I think about what's going to make people successful in this age of AI is just being willing to be open-minded, but then also being, you know, certain in what they want to do.
Who was Caitlen in high school? Let's go back in time.
Oh my gosh. She was really cool.
Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
In Boca Raton. My family's originally from Mexico, so I moved to the States when I was 1.
Got it.
To Miami. But definitely grew up with the whole like immigrant background.
Do you speak Spanish?
Sí, hablo español.
Qué rico.
I always struggle with this one, but what is it? Inteligencia artificial. It's a big word. AI. And so really, I just grew up in a very loving household. My parents really always wanted the best for me. They put me in Montessori school.
That's awesome.
So Montessori, best form of education. I really think it promoted my independence. And, you know, then in high school, I really had the availability to do a lot of things. I was lead in the school play. I swam competitively. I did yoga. And I think that that really shaped my discipline, waking up at 5 a.m. most days. And it also really made me realize that I could do whatever I wanted. Like, and I
Feel
still
free
am.
to curse.
Look at me. Fuck.
There you go.
I'll tell you a story. So when I was around 15 years old, I was swimming competitively, and I tried out for a team, a St. Andrews team. And the coach there told me, like, hey, you're good, but you're not good enough.
Okay.
And that was like one of those days where I was like, damn, like this really sucks. And I ended up swimming for the competitor, Performance Aquatics. And I trained every single day for a year.
Tell me you beat them.
Okay, I'll tell you. I did.
Tell me you beat them.
I did. And so we get to the district championships, and I'm swimming against the head coach's daughter of that other team that told me no.
Oh, so sweet.
And it's the 50 freestyle, and I'm at the blocks, and I swim, and she ends up winning. And I'm like, oh my God. Turns out she false started. She got disqualified completely, and I ended up winning that race.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like by 1 second. So really, I won the race. And
That's
I think
incredible.
that was like a defining factor in my life where I was like, if I like really put my nose to the concrete, like I can do anything.
Yeah. She had to cheat to beat you. Literally.
Literally. And no shade, but
He must have been pissed.
he came up to me afterwards and was like, wow, like you've really like improved. And I was like, I have. And
Should have kept me.
facts. And I wasn't always like everybody always thought I was really smart. And I am smart, but
You are.
it's because I worked really hard too. You know, like at night, actually in my car, I have a book. Like at night, like I read books about AI. Like, you know.
In your car?
Not in my car. In my house in West Palm. But I'm always trying to really improve my craft. And one of the things I need to start doing is listening to myself speak. But it's because I'm always like, am I sounding cringe? But really.
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
I've never heard one podcast.
Really?
Never. I mean, not ever. There are times where like I'll put one on just to put like I don't.
Your GBT is like, I know this guy, but you're like, I don't know me.
Correct. No, I don't. It's not worth it. Do you know why? Because
Why?
you'll judge yourself too much.
Yeah.
And you have to go through those experiences. You just have to.
So really going back to like who I was, I think that I've always been very disciplined.
Yeah.
I think I always wanted to think outside the box, and I'm just always quick on my feet. Like, you know, there was a time about a year ago, I was still working for a foundation, and basically they had told me that I couldn't run my business, my AI business, where I do training and consulting, and I work with this development company. And, you know, I remember just like hysterically crying. I was in the downstairs bathroom, and I was like,
They told you that you couldn't do both? Is that what it was?
essentially they had told me that
Was a conflict of interest?
there was a conflict of interest.
Got it.
Yeah, and with anybody who could have been at any point any of their potential clients. And I totally understand where they were coming from, but to me it just felt I was devastated.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like immediately I was just like time to go into solution mode. And so I had a really good cry, and that's what people don't tell you about entrepreneurship. Like there's so many days when
there's so much crying.
you just
There's so much crying.
you need a
Yeah, there's so much crying. A lot of it.
There's a lot of crime because
Yeah.
you're not only just building a business, you're being confronted with yourself constantly.
Yeah.
And with different versions of who you were, who you're becoming, your trauma, your stuff, your personal life.
Exactly.
You know, how far you want to push yourself. And so, you know, in a lot of these moments, I've just had to be like solution mode, you know, and I've just been like, boom, I'm going to make it happen, you know? And I think that really is what it takes to be out of the system, you know? Because if you don't have that and you don't trust in yourself that, hey, it doesn't matter if this happens, it doesn't matter if they tell you no.
Right.
Honestly, you can flip that no around and make it 10 times better.
What gave you this drive?
Oh my God.
This persistence? This I'm not taking no for an answer.
I think, honestly, I've always had it.
Yeah.
And I think I've always questioned everything. I'll tell you a story. So when I was a little girl, my parents, like my grandfather, he's German. And
On your mom or dad's side?
mom's side. And basically, I was at the pool and I was topless. I was probably like 4 years old. And some kid comes up to me and says, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And I was like, "I'm a girl." And like, there's been so many times where I've just questioned everything. I'm like, why does this guy think that I'm a boy? It's because, you know, in Europe, it's socially acceptable for young kids, especially
sure.
young girls, not to
Yeah.
have tops, you
Yeah.
know, up until a
Yeah.
certain age. And then I was just always questioning everything, you know, like, why is it that women are not as represented in STEM? Why is it that we've decided that these are the roles that we should have? Why is it that we've decided that everybody needs to have a full-time job and be a slave to corporate America? Why? You know?
Henry Ford.
Exactly. Automation.
Nation of doers, not thinkers.
Exactly. And so I've always been like, I want to break out of that. And in order to break out of that, you have to have discipline.
Yes.
And I think my discipline came a lot through fitness, through swimming, through consistent exercise,
You still
showing up for
swim?
myself. I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I do a lot of Pilates, weightlifting, but I think fitness has an amazing way of teaching you discipline and
I
teaching
agree.
you where your limits are,
I agree 100%.
you know?
Yes.
And so for me, I think that was a real starting point for me. And then just my support system. I have so many friends. Shout out to my girls. And they've just poured into me. My family has poured into
That's
me.
incredible.
I have amazing
Support
mentors.
is everything.
And just people
Who
that
are
have
your
been
mentors?
like, ooh, okay, so I'll tell you a really good story. So one of my great mentors is a philanthropist, and I met her over 10 years ago. So she was the person that invested in my social change project. It was called Equal and Empowered. It was about feminism and promoting women's equality, kind of at the wake of Me Too.
Okay.
And so she funded that project. She ended up becoming a mentor of mine, and I actually ended up working for her. And I actually pitched myself to her. We had coffee at San Ambrose in Palm Beach. She's like, well, my assistant quit. And then I'm just sitting there like, okay. And I always think about, okay, in this conversation, where are the opportunities for me?
Right.
And I got home and I was like, so what if I just send her an email and pitch to her that I can be her assistant? That was my first job. And she became an amazing.
How old were you?
I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah. It was 6 years ago. And that was one of the.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
You're 27.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do I look cool?
You don't look old at all, but you're very mature.
Thank you.
Very.
I think my soul is like 45.
Your maturity level is,
Yeah. I think I've seen a lot. I've done a lot.
you're only 20, so you're a baby.
Yeah.
That's
Which is great.
awesome. It's great. You're so smart.
Thank you. I've done a lot of like school. I even have my fitness and life coach certification. I've done
That's awesome.
a lot of things, and I'm constantly trying to learn. But in terms of mentors, she's become a huge mentor of mine, and she's even flipped the script. She's like, you're a mentor to me now. And just having someone with that level of influence and authority invest in me at such an early age, when I was only 22, like
That's awesome.
it was awesome. I remember the first time I basically started working for her, we went to the Breakers.
What is that?
It's one of the fanciest hotels in Palm Beach.
Okay.
Breakers Hotel. And we're sitting with like the wife of the CEO of the hotel. And like just being exposed to all of these people that have done so many amazing things has just always been an inspiration to me. And I think like if there's anything that I can tell anybody is I'm sick of everyone telling you to believe in yourself, because I believe in myself on a delusional level, but I want you to believe in your mission and your vision. And
What's the difference?
so I would say vision is higher level.
Okay.
You know, like I envision a world where everybody has access to education and quality of life. You know, that's like vision.
Got it.
And then mission is like more focused. So like my mission right now is to make AI accessible for nonprofits, for entrepreneurs and businesses, right? And then that feeds into my vision, right? And so I think that I've gotten really clear about my mission and vision, but my vision for the most part has always stayed the same, you know? And so even when things have gotten really hard in my life and maybe I don't believe in myself, I still
Right.
believe in the mission and the vision.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think
That's
it's
your
like,
fuel.
Yeah, my fuel.
Your
right.
why.
It's like my why. I like that. It's like my battery pack. You know?
Exactly.
And I think sometimes people are just saying like to a lot of especially women, young women like me, they're like, you need to believe in yourself. And I'm like, I do. But then what is my why? And I like to talk about a concept that I learned doing my coaching certification, which is called Ikigai. And it's basically connecting what you're good at with what the world needs, you know? And there's one more piece of it. But essentially, you're connected to your why. You know, it's like, what are you good at? What does the world need? And how can you create something? Oh, and how can you make money? Yeah, those are the three. It's like concentric circles. And really, I think as, you know, going back to AI, like the future is already here. And so really getting clear about what your why is, I think is really important. and what your purpose is. Because there's going to be a lot of things coming. I have friends right now that work in corporate. They can't find jobs. They feel stuck. The old models of how we've been living, how we've been working.
In the rat race,
the rat race, it's not working, right? So really getting clear about doing your healing and figuring out what your why is.
That went over a lot of people's head what you just said right now.
You want to repeat it?
Doing the healing.
Doing your healing. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? I think it's like all this self-care and all this brouhaha, but like really, I did 3.5 years of therapy, one-on-one therapy, and really facing like my demons, right? And really understanding, what my attachment style is, really understanding how I relate to other people, and moving through some of the things that might have happened to me or some of the things I might have thought about myself, because I think sometimes we forget that business and personal life are not separate.
No.
They're so interconnected.
They're one and the same.
Yeah. And so
one affects the other.
Like for you, like what has been, something that you've overcome, by doing your healing and then how
Addiction?
is that translated? Me too. Okay. What's your story?
I've had many. I've been addicted to plenty of drugs.
Okay.
Cocaine being one of them, weed being another, women being another. I've had many vices. So I've gone through my trials and tribulations to free myself from all my demons.
I love that.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like
It's an everyday battle, by the way.
Of course.
Everyday battle.
Yeah. And I was, I talk openly about this. Like, I wouldn't say that I had like a problem, but everybody says that. But I definitely was using alcohol as a way to cope with things and as a way to sort of free myself. And so my last drink was March 17th, 2023.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And honestly, I wouldn't be here if I kept drinking because ruins your weekends, takes away all your money. Even being a girl and like people buy you drinks, like you're still spending money on food and Ubers and this and that. And then your time is just being wasted and sucked away into something that isn't doing anything good for you.
What made you change?
Honestly, I think what made me change was being with a partner at the time who didn't drink, really. So we never had alcohol in the house. And I felt really secure. And I kind of stepped out of myself for a little bit. And I was able to see that this wasn't working for me. And I think at the time, I had the support and I made that commitment and I hate breaking promises. And so I honestly started it as like a challenge. I was like, so how many days can I go without drinking? At first it was 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And years later, I haven't gone back to it. And it's just, honestly, I have a lot of other people to thank for this. My mentor, actually, her and her husband are sober. A lot of other people have come forward and I think are really honest. And there's a lot more mocktails now, everybody. So
a lot.
There's a lot more healthy alternatives, juices.
Yeah. Have a beer if you want to, non-alcoholic.
Yeah. I love sparkling water. And so I think that's really been something that has translated into business.
Yeah.
Because now I know that I can keep promises to myself. You know what I mean?
100%.
And if you know that you can trust yourself, then you really can push yourself a lot further than you thought.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that, if anyone's listening, like, you aren't your addiction, you aren't what you're struggling with, but really in order to get to the next level, you have to be able to face that. And I've helped another partner actually be free of marijuana.
That's awesome.
And for this person, it was something that they struggled with and were dealing with every day. And I think it's so hard sometimes to like look in the mirror and be like, I'm using this as a coping mechanism. And right now, THC, it's all the rise. There's all the drinks and the this and the vapes and the blah.
Oh, yeah.
And
probably be legal soon, federally.
but yeah, and they're also using it. If you think about it, they're promoting it and using it because they want you to buy it, right? Not because it's actually good for you.
Right.
And so I think always questioning things too, going back to critical thinking. Does it make sense to eat a fully meat diet and eat sticks of butter? Probably not. Does it make sense maybe to, be, I don't know, eating this powder or vaping all the time. You know what I mean?
Vaping's so bad for you.
It's like whenever I see a trend, I'm always like pausing to think about, what really makes sense, right?
Right.
And as humans, we're meant to eat a balanced diet, we're meant to have social relationships, we're meant to have purpose and passion.
Yep.
And I really think that should be the focal point, rather than all these like crazy trends and, this and that. And, I think really going back to some of the roots, I think will help people. And in terms of AI too, I think that it's become a really crazy hype. And it's like, how can you actually implement it into your business? How can you implement it into your workflow, for example, instead of seeing it as this like crazy, scary, like big thing that's out there to get you?
Are you still with that partner?
No. I think that, I think of relationships, all kinds, both from a business perspective, from a romantic perspective, and friends. I see it as we're going to grow together for as long as we can grow together. And then sometimes we're not going to be in each other's lives. You know what I mean? And I think this idea that we've been sold that, everybody has a soulmate. I think that I have many soulmates, and many of them have come to my life as girlfriends and as mentors and as family. But I think that, this whole idea that there's only one person out there for you, I think keeps a lot of people depressed and longing.
Yeah.
And I really think I'm so happy right now. Like this conversation's making me so happy.
I'm glad. Yes.
And I just appreciate the ability to share and be able to hear from you, And
Amen.
it doesn't have to be forever.
Right.
And, we might have a great friendship.
Yes.
We might do business together. I might come and do, maybe somebody from your team will take my headshots,
100%. Let's make that happen.
Exactly. And so I just see it as a way of how can we grow together and how can we love together, and really learn from each other. But when it's not working, we have to be honest with ourselves, with that other person. And, even when a business sense, if it's not working,
it's
you
not
gotta
working.
Be honest.
Yeah. Do you see marriage in your future?
Ooh, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty young. I think that a lot of the structures of marriage, I'm not sure work for women necessarily. Like the data has come out, like women are happier single. They're happier when, they're not confined by marriage. But then I do feel like in a sense, there's a lot of great things that come with marriage, that commitment, being able to build a family.
Yeah. Do you want kids?
I'm not sure of that either. I think it'd be great. Like a mini me, like guys, can you imagine? Like mini me? She'd be like so cute. I've always wanted twins. Like two kids, boy, girl. You could ask my mom, like when I was a little girl, I had like baby dolls.
Yeah.
And I loved this idea of having twins. I thought that was really cool. And
That
they
is
do
really
run
cool.
in my family.
Do they? Okay.
So
It's possible.
jury's out. I think it's amazing. And I think I'd love to be a mom, but I think again, with the right support and the right person. Because I think, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I've just seen a lot of women just really struggle. And I don't want to struggle, Leo. Do you know what I mean?
Tell me why.
Because I've struggled enough. You know what I mean? And so I really want to be intentional about...
Let me push back on that. You don't think that the struggle creates growth?
I do think so, but I honestly do not think that as a woman, right now, the way our society is functioning, the structures, I don't think you can have it all. I think that...
What does that mean to you? What does having it all mean to you?
I think that, women are like, hey, I can be a CEO and, I can be ever present with my kids, and I can have this amazing relationship with my husband, and I can have all these friends. Guys, there's only 24 hours in a day. And maybe AI will get to the point where it's automating maybe half of my business or whatever.
Well, I will tell you it's doable.
Why?
My wife does it. I see it every day. We've been married for 9 years, been together for 19. We were 10 years old.
Oh.
Craziest story. We have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, 2 boys. and she's a CEO, runs a business, has 2 kids. We pick them up and drop them off from school every single day. They have activities during the day, bunch of kids' birthday parties. She is the classroom mom for both kids.
Wow.
Part of the PTO in both schools, and handles it and does it.
Is she exhausted though?
Oh yeah. There's no doubt. Goes to the gym, runs a company of 40 people.
Wow.
And and we do it together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
it's doable.
I think
it's hard, but it's doable. Yeah.
But I also see, like, I have a friend who has, 3 kids. Now she's divorced. I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I also think that, like, the systems that we have in place, like, lack of like childcare, lack of paid maternity leave and paternity leave. I think a lot of those things are making it harder.
It's true.
For people to have kids and also not be so burnt out, honestly, and financially tied up.
Yeah.
Like right now you need 2 incomes to support a household
minimum
or more.
Yeah.
And so it's like
you're so
a lot
expensive.
of women like me, like a lot of people are not choosing to have kids, and I understand why,
Yeah, no, me too.
So
trust me.
Yeah. And I think that what I would say is definitely, I think men need to step up. Shout out. I think men are great, but I definitely think that.
In what sense? What do you mean? Go deeper on that.
I think definitely being more of a supportive partner. So like taking on household responsibilities, taking on childcare responsibilities. I think that, they need to be as active as, the wife or the mother.
Right.
And it has to be a real team effort. And I think right now, from my perspective, I think a lot of men are sort of in crisis. They don't know what their role is. They don't know, what they're supposed to be doing in relationships. And I think that ultimately is hurting women and is causing them maybe not to want to be in relationships with men,
Right.
or maybe also not want to have kids as well.
I agree with you. I do think men are in a crisis. I do think men are lost. I do think a lot of men are stuck in a frame that they can't get out of. But I will say that the ones that do choose to get married, they do help out. And eventually, I'll speak for myself, right? So my wife and I, we do have set things that we each do.
Right.
But it crosses, right? It doesn't mean that I'm stuck to that and she's stuck to that, right? She can help me, I can help her, we can do whatever. But there are certain set things that I do and she does. So I think that balance is probably the best way to go. Well, I've changed diapers, I've fed my kids.
He's breastfed.
No, but I fed my kids bottles when she couldn't breastfeed. I've done everything. I do everything, and whatever it takes. I have no issue. But I think a lot of modern men, I'll say mostly Gen Zers, have an idea that, I don't know, that maybe that certain things don't apply to them.
Yeah.
Right?
And it does apply to you, by the way.
Right. I agree. I agree.
And I also think that, I can't remember who said this. I might have heard it on a podcast. It might have been my mother. Either way, I really took it to heart. If you would not start a business with this man, do not marry this man.
Correct.
And I was just like, whoosh, what does that mean? And I really digested that. And I was like, you are essentially coupling your finances.
Yes.
I know people that the guy, for example, or the woman has taken out tons of debt, not even told the other person. So would you start an enterprise with this person? You're basically starting a brand. You're starting the Smiths, for example.
Exactly.
And then you have all of these workflows, which are, cleaning the kitchen and taking the kids out and the dog and the vet and the this and the that and the groceries.
Yep. It piles up.
All of the things that are happening. So those are your SOPs.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the finances. And then you have the people that are working within the unit. And sometimes you have more people. So maybe it's, you and your wife, but then you might have grandma involved. You might have somebody who comes in, might clean your house.
Right.
You know, and so there's all these people, all these actors, and how do they fit in? And then you might have other actors too, your 2 kids, right? And their needs.
Right.
And then balancing all of that. That sounds,
And there's money.
And there's money, like finances. So that sounds more complex than the business I'm running, by the way. And so, you know what I mean?
I do. I live it.
You live it. So you have, your wife has a business, you have a business, and then you
Correct.
have your family unit business.
Correct.
And so, like, I'm so grateful to my parents because they really knew how to run a business. And me, as the product of that, you know, I'm really grateful for how they set me up.
Right.
And so,
They build a good product.
excellent model. And the latest, 5.0. There's a new version coming soon. Oh, I have a voice. New version coming soon.
That's pretty good.
That's AI. I'm just kidding. And so essentially it's like, I've really taken that to heart because if you wouldn't start an enterprise, a business with this person, and you wouldn't set up shop to sell frozen burritos, then you have no business being married to them. And it's not like they have to be, you know, come from a business mindset.
Right.
like you
Right.
and me.
Right. 100%.
They have to be a willing partner and they have to be able to work at this unit. And I think that there's another great creator, I forget what her name is, but she treats motherhood like a job.
It is.
You know?
It's like
Just-
10 jobs in one.
Exactly. So she, like, you know, gets dressed every morning. She has a schedule, a calendar. You know, she has family meetings. And so she's really running her household. She has 5 boys.
Okay. God bless her.
Crazy. The last boy, she was like, I think I would have had a girl, but, you know, turned out to be a little boy. But essentially, I do think in a way that you have to have the whole business mindset in a way.
You must.
But then again, you have to
must.
have that empathy, right? And I think that's what's missing a lot in our society is having that empathy, you know, and being able to hold space for people, being able to listen, being able to, maybe your kid right now is telling you that they want to be a police officer. You think that's a terrible idea, but you want to be supportive, right? And so I think in a business sense, it's all cold and dry and you just are profit motivated. But I think the goal of a family is different. It's happiness, it's health, financial stability. There's a lot of other things that are not in the business sense, right?
No.
And so, you know, I'd be curious to hear from you what your thoughts are on that.
I think you're 100% right. And I think it's a little different, right? Because in a company, when you fail, all you lose is money, in essence.
Well, sometimes you lose your reputation.
Okay. But in a family, when you lose something there, you can break the whole family up.
Like trust.
Exactly.
But you can violate trust in business.
But yes, it's easier to replace a person in your business than it is someone in your family.
Well, yeah, it's not like AI is going to replace.
Correct.
AI is now replacing
So that's the big
your
difference,
wife.
right?
Actually, that could be happening.
That's the big difference. What? Whoa.
Well, not her. What I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, there's a lot more, like, for example, AI companions, you know, a lot of more like AI pornography. And
So
things
I
like that.
heard that we are very, very near sex robots. That's
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very close.
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
And I think that we've already had that with different kinds of like dolls and things like that.
Yeah.
But then with the piece of AI and it being more of even a companion.
That's going to be nuts. That's
I
going to
think
be
we're already there with that.
insane.
And I honestly think that, you know, there's been a huge impact that pornography has had on our entire culture, right?
Oh.
How we view each other, what we think is okay, what we don't think is okay from an intimacy standpoint.
Well, let's just put it this way, okay? The internet would not exist if not for porn. Do you know that?
Yeah, I did know that. And I honestly think it's like, again, we're short-circuiting everything, Leo.
Yeah.
Like the kids that are in the negotiation class, it's like instead of going out and, you know, asking a girl, you know, what her name is and talking to her and taking her out and getting to know her and then eventually...
The good old way.
You know, the good old way. We're like...
Swipe.
And I've
Did you catch that era of swiping?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
And
so far from that. I never
you know,
caught
it was
that.
so... I honestly find the apps sociologically so fascinating.
Tell me
I'll tell
why.
you why. I find it super interesting that we've created a way to short circuit relationships and intimacy. But it's not just like we're talking to a chatbot. It's like you're actually talking to real people,
Right.
you know? And it's so much easier. The barrier to entry is just, there's no barrier, you know? And so I think people are really not having the same discernment. They're also not having the same politeness that they would in real life. Like in real life, like I would never say some of the things that people have said to me on a dating app or on social media, right? It's because we can hide behind the screen. It's because I don't know you. I might call you something horrible,
Right.
or be really needy or demanding or insulting, because at the end of the day, I know that you don't really even know who I am, or even
Right.
if you do,
It's irrelevant.
we don't even navigate in the same circles, right? And so the way that you and I met is, you know, we met at an event in Boca, which is halfway between where we both reside.
Yeah.
And we were there because we both are passionate about entrepreneurship.
Yep.
We wanted to grow our businesses. And obviously this is a business acquaintance and stuff.
Right.
But if you think about it, same applies for a romantic relationship.
For sure.
If you're short circuiting it on the app, I would have probably never met this guy.
Right.
I always say he probably can't afford to be where I am. That's mean and taking it too far.
No, you could be right.
And so where you and I met, we met because we had shared interests and values and things like that we
Exactly.
were both passionate about. And then we connected, and then you were like, hey, let's go on the podcast. So the same can apply in a romantic setting.
Right.
So let's
I
say...
could have asked you, let's go on a date instead of going on the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you're meeting in a shared space where you both came to that place, it's probably because you're passionate about maybe exercising.
Right.
Or maybe you live
There's a
nearby.
commonality there.
There's a commonality.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think when, and I've dated people off the apps, it's like, okay, this person lives like an hour and a half away. I'm an entrepreneur and they have a 9-to-5. I really like going out and exploring and having adventures, and this person doesn't. Like, it's just the commonality isn't there.
Right.
And so it fractures very easily.
Yes.
You know, and then also you have no mutual connections. So now that you and I are friends, are we friends?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, we're friends. We're besties.
Besties.
Now that we're besties, it's like, okay, we have a shared commonality, right? And so
Yes.
you might be like, hey, I'd love you to meet my friend John, right? And so we're building
Correct.
a relationship,
Correct.
right? Same thing with romance. It's
Right.
like, okay, now maybe this person was at a chamber event, for example, Chamber of Commerce, and now we're both members. And so we actually know a lot of the same people. And so then we can also see what each other acts like in third-party settings.
Or
like
get
events.
references.
Or get references.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know this guy? What's he doing?
What's his deal?
You know, what's his dealio?
Yeah.
You know? And so I have a friend, for example, who dates a lot on the apps. And then she ends up finding out that, you know, this person's married, or, for example, this person has a record, or, you know, criminal offense. And so I really think that there is going to have to be, like you said, a hybrid, a balance.
Yeah.
Where we can use technology, AI. Bumble now is saying that it's going to create an AI that's going to date for you. A little scary, but I'm very intrigued, as always. But how can we, again, human in the loop? Human in the loop. How are we keeping the human in the loop when this is going to be my livelihood? This is going to be my potential life partner, and I'm just going to leave it up to some chatbot?
Okay. To this point, let's jump 10 years.
10 years.
Okay. They've made AGI. Where are we? What does this world looks like? Because everything now changes.
Honestly,
Or no? How do you see it?
Yeah, I honestly think that we're close to AGI. I think that that's going to fundamentally change everything about our society. But I do think it's going to be slower in some industries, faster in some industries, just like we've
Correct,
seen.
yeah.
I work a lot with the nonprofits in luxury transportation. They're still working in the Stone Ages. For example, healthcare, law firms, a lot of other, every like Fortune 500 company already has agentic systems, right?
Do you think that AGI will facilitate and push for whoever's not in the mix to get in the mix.
I think it's gonna push people to get in the mix, but then maybe certain industries, like maybe luxury transportation, for example, is gonna be completely wiped out, potentially.
Right,
There's
self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars like Waymo, Tesla, et cetera.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of basically autonomous vehicles that are coming out. And I do think that might replace entire industries. Uber, Lyft, like that's taken away a lot of the luxury transportation space.
Oh yeah, and
now
they're
you can
going to
just go,
evolve.
doot, 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 doot. But I do think a lot of people are theorizing now that what's going to become even more important now is human connection.
Yes.
And so you might even be paying.
Branding's gonna be huge.
Yeah, you might even be paying, and it's happening already. For example, in places like Japan, where you can pay for companionship, right? Like you can pay for somebody to hang out with you, go for a walk, etc. And so I think that you're still gonna need, for example, human connection.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be at a premium. I also think we're gonna have to change the way that we fundamentally think about work.
100%.
And I think countries in Europe, for example, are already thinking about that, the 4-day work week.
I read somewhere that we can get to a place where 99% of all jobs are obsolete.
I think that we're then going to go through just a huge shift in what do we do now?
Right.
What is
Huge.
our purpose?
Yes.
And then also where is the money going to be consolidated, right?
Yep.
Because the money is going to be consolidated at the top.
Correct.
And so there's conversations obviously about like universal basic income.
Yep. It's going to have to happen.
And, how does that work under capitalism though, right? So that's very socialist, right? That everybody, Leo's going to make, I don't know, at that point it's going to be like $200,000
Right.
a year, but that's going to be your basic income. And so how do we measure merit? How do we measure success? And I think the jury's out for all of that. And I think that honestly,
It'll probably be a hybrid.
yeah, I think that honestly what I would say is that we need to prepare for a world that we don't even know how it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And so I think the best thing that we can do is really be working on our confidence, on our critical thinking skills, on our ability to connect and form relationships,
Yeah.
on our personal brand, on developing content, and about pursuing something that we're, again,
Being relevant.
passionate about.
Yeah.
And being relevant, And I think relevancy looks different for many people.
I agree.
I think there's people that are out here creating content that's super niche and they've created that and monetized that audience, and that's
Right.
amazing. There's people doing mukbangs and eating chicken wings all day, And so
God bless them.
my perspective though is wanting to create something that's going to add value to people's lives. And maybe that mukbang is adding value. Maybe people are finding joy in that. And so I think it's really going to depend,
You're very nice.
Hey, I mean, I personally don't watch those videos. But in terms of AGI, and I think in the next 10 years, I honestly think we're going to undergo a reckoning. And I think we're going to really have to face ourselves and each other to find out what comes next. And then we're also going to have to find a way to support ourselves.
Do you think AGI is 10 years away or less?
I think it's less,
5?
maybe 5.
Well,
Yeah. And again, like we were talking about earlier, it depends on how do we define it,
right.
right? And I honestly think that somebody asked me to speak today and they were like, what are you going to speak about in a year? And I said, I can't tell you that.
It moves so fast.
So fast, like ChatGPT was released in 2022. Where we're at right now with AI agents performing specific tasks and doing specific things, like we're much further than that,
And to be honest, I feel like the version they release is not the version they have.
No.
It's like what they have is like 0.7 or 0.8, and they're
Exactly.
releasing 0.5 now to us.
Exactly. It was 5.0.
I'm sorry, 5.0, yes.
And so I definitely think that people are scared, but I would say that we've gone through the Industrial Revolution,
right.
right? We've gone through the internet boom. We've gone through a lot of crises, a lot of wars, and humans are amazing. They're super, super resilient. And so I would honestly work on your resilience and your discipline because when shit hits the fan, which it will, and maybe you lose your job, how are you going to go into solution mode?
Do you think that this brings on World War III?
I mean,
Is it going to get worse before it gets better?
honestly, I do think so. And I think AI now it already is being used for warfare,
Of course.
and so
Yeah,
I
you got
think-
missiles with AI built in.
Exactly. And robots, and we're seeing it, in the war between Russia, Ukraine, we're seeing it all over the place. And so,
yeah.
again, that's AI. Well, you could say it's being used for good and bad in a way, depends on which side you're on.
For sure.
And so, again, like same with like nuclear weapons, like there might be some stuff that goes really horribly wrong, and I really hope that and pray that we don't enter into any more wars. I really hope and pray that there isn't a World War III that could potentially wipe us all out.
Yeah.
And there's theorists right now that are saying like when we get to AGI, when we get to ASI, like the potential of it consuming and eating ourselves, right? And so, I'm 27 years old. And so I was talking to a different professor who teaches he's more of like a theorist, and he talks about AI from a lot of disciplines. And I was like, what is it going to look like when I'm 80? And he's like, I don't know.
When
I'm 80.
It's a whole different world.
I mean, when you think about it, how everything has progressed. When my parents were growing up, there was like the first phones in the car. Mm-hmm. That was like the cell phone. And
Right.
so like you wouldn't have to go to a pay phone. You wouldn't have to go to your landline. You had the phone in the car. And now the phone can even be just on my Apple Watch. Mm-hmm. And now, coming out with the
Meta
AI
glasses.
glasses,
Yep.
now AI is in my glasses and I can see it. And so I don't think that when my mom was sitting in her mom's car and she was picking up the phone that she thought that we would be here.
Right. This fast. Yeah.
It's fast. And I think I'm really interested to see where it goes. And I'm really excited to help promote AI for good. And I honestly think that if you haven't already downloaded these different AI platforms and are already using it, I would encourage you to. I'm going to leave you with a few things though. So number one is I always tell people you need to review the AI output, right? So anytime you're creating an image, anytime you're creating any copy, make sure you're reading it thoroughly. Next is disclosure, like we talked about. So you could say this, blog was created using AI assistance,
Right.
but has been reviewed by Leo Climaco and his team, et cetera. Do not put any personal identifying information into any third-party model, which is why a lot of companies right now are building their own large language models, or basically taking the large language model like ChatGPT and building an enclosed environment so they can interact with their own data. It's not safe to be putting in social security numbers, addresses, financial information into ChatGPT, even if you're paying for it. And make sure you can go to your settings and turn off improve model for everyone, which will kind of safeguard your data in terms of not using that data to train itself. But again, definitely think about would you put this on your LinkedIn? Would you put, for example, all of the financial data of your company on your LinkedIn? Probably not. And so you have to be careful of that. And then lastly, be keeping track and saving your prompts. Anytime, for example, you're creating something, it has that log, you can also archive them. Mm-hmm. In case you ever need to copyright something, you want to be able to prove that you had that minimum human input, right, into creating that content. And so those are kind of my 4 things that I like to leave people with. And sort of the last thing is, how are you being curious? And I know you're like, what? What does that mean? It's be curious. Okay, what if I put this prompt in? What's going to happen? Oh, wow. Okay, but what if I change this? What if I put it in a different model? What if I tried a different tool? So when we were kids, we were always thinking about oh, what's this? What if I folded it like this? What if I threw it like that? Now as adults, we're just kind of robotic, right? And so my whole thing is always, how are you creating that culture of curiosity within yourself, with your team, with your family business unit? And what does it look like for you to start using AI?
Where does God fit in all this?
God.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Are you religious?
No. Not really. I do believe that there's a higher sort of power, but I'm not sure that it takes the shape of anything in particular.
Did you grow up anything?
No,
No, your parents.
not really. I we probably went to church like a handful of times, like throughout my whole childhood. I do think that everybody has a different opinion
Yeah,
on
for sure.
God, what it looks like. Ariana says God is a woman. She's probably right. But I do think that
Why do you think that?
I don't know, because I always think of Mother Nature as being a female, and so I don't know. And I have so many female figures in my life and friends that I think I've always been connected more to strong female figures. And I think that's just my opinion of it. In terms of God and technology, I do think that there's something to that, because even scientists right now, they don't fully understand even how AI really works. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's kind of always an element of mystery. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And I think there's always an element of unknown, right? Like we only know what we know right now, And that's why sometimes it's so important to like be kind to yourself, because you make decisions with what information you have right now.
Right.
And so in terms of God, I think that, like I said, there might be a higher power that's watching over us. There might be a higher power that's involved in all of this, in the battle of good and evil. But I do think that, I think there was a great quote that said, like, never underestimate like a small group of people that can do like something good. I'm botching the quote right now. Don't quote me. But I do really believe in like the human spirit and discipline. And I do believe that like one person can actually make a difference, even if it's small. What are your thoughts on God?
I believe in God. I was raised Catholic, not really religious. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the word of Jesus. Not necessarily what Christianity says, but his actual teaching and his actual belief as Jesus the man. But I do think that there's a lot of control and manipulation around religion.
I agree.
Right? And I do think if you're able to decipher between the dogma and the actual teaching, the actual humanity of it, I do think that we're all gods.
I agree with that. I like that.
I do think that, let's just say that God is an energy, and we are all little lightning bolts out of that main energy source.
Yeah, I do think that religion has definitely been weaponized, and I see it right now in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different religions are being weaponized.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's like there's obviously some other type of intention underneath that.
For sure.
Especially using sometimes scripture to say different things or discriminate against different people.
And you can use it to prove both sides.
You could do, I mean,
right? You can interpret it however you want it.
Exactly.
Right? It's very vague in that sense.
And that's why I've always been a little bit afraid of religion, because I don't like the way that it's been weaponized. And as someone who, I am a woman, I'm Hispanic, I feel like it's definitely been weaponized against women.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's definitely been weaponized against immigrants, against a lot of people. And that's why I feel like I'm not as connected to it. But I do think that there is some sort of higher power, higher source. We can tap into that.
Yeah.
And, I do hope that people reflect and try to use any type of religion or any type of belief for a greater good.
Right. I do think that what Jesus in particular was trying to teach was just that we are all godly, that heaven is within us, and that we create our own reality, and that we are not at his time, right? He was preaching to peasants and homeless and people who were drunks and people who were forgotten about. And his message was that you are not merely what you think you are. You are grander than that. You are more than that. There's more to you than the labels that have been placed on you. You know,
I like that.
So that's really what I take from that, and that's really what I value and go through life with.
And I think that, people are multifaceted.
Oh yeah,
I think that, who I am sitting in this chair is different than maybe who I am, with my best girlfriends or with my family.
100%.
But I do think that we have to have values, right?
Oh yeah,
We have to have things and be able to define what is right, what is wrong.
yeah,
But then again, there's so much that's always up for interpretation, and I'm hoping that we can really rear our children to be more open-minded and guided by, their purpose.
oh yeah,
Guided by their values, and, be able to really focus in on creating humans that are going to do good things, not just factory workers,
yes,
but humans that can think for themselves. But honestly, I think that's in direct competition to capitalism and what a lot of these companies want from the workforce. Like, that's why I never thrived. I mean, I did thrive, but I feel like I always was that person in a job being like, I want to do this differently.
right,
Can we do this differently? I also like move at a very fast pace. The only person that moves faster than me is my assistant.
it's good.
And he's amazing. And we've been working together for, I think, almost 2 months now.
That's awesome.
And so today he's like, Caitlen, what about that course? And I'm like, he's like, well, we need to sit down and we need to do this. As soon as we're like working on putting up one of the next events that I'm doing, he's like, okay, well, we need to create a newsletter. And I'm like, let's go. Let's
do it. Yeah.
And so that's what you need, is somebody that's going to be working just as fast as you. But I think that corporate, I think that, people that are like definitely inside of the system, I think get just smushed over time because they're told no, no, no over and over again. And they can't move different innovations forward.
Yeah.
Even with AI, it's like, that's why it's so important to have the leadership, like I was talking about earlier, because that's actually going to move it forward.
Yeah.
Versus if the leader's like, AI, I don't know, I don't understand it, I don't like it, unaware, then even if you have a bunch of employees who are really gung-ho and are ready, it's never going to move forward, right? Because you need that leadership. You need that CEO. You need the buy-in from the C-suite. You need the board, maybe. You need the funding. You need the approvals to be able to like implement AI around the entire organization, not just in one little workflow or one department.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that that's what sometimes keeps people stuck is, and even if sometimes you're the leader, you might have a board that is telling you, hey, you're not allowed to do this, right? And so really being like mindful of that, I think, I don't know where I was going with that.
I want to tell you something.
Tell me.
I do hope that you decide to have kids one day. And I'll tell you why.
Wow, look at
And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
I think we need more people like you having children.
I appreciate that.
You're very smart. You're very driven. You have incredible values and morals. And I think you make a great mom. Oh. And I do think that we need more people like you with your values, with your perspectives, with your intellect, having kids. Right? So we can then have some sort of a guarantee that our next generations is being taught and being educated by people with values and morals and intelligence.
I agree. I do agree in a way that, it's weird because it's like there's so many amazing, strong women that I know that have decided or have gotten too old to have kids and things like that.
And those are the ones that should be having kids, in my opinion.
I agree with you. But then again, it's like sometimes what makes them who they are is their independence.
Yes.
Is their ability to be like a boss,
Right.
And not to say that you can't be a boss and have a kid, but I think I'm thinking of one friend in particular, and I just could never see her with kids. She lives in New York City. She's a go-getter. She's actually one of my closest friends. And I just couldn't see her as a mom. And she said that she never could see herself, as a mom. And I respect that. And I think that's what feminism I know there's a lot of, everybody's like throwing around how feminism's bad. I think
Yeah.
the core of it is just allowing women to have a choice.
Right.
And not, twisting them one way or another, right? I think there's a lot of people now saying, oh, don't have kids because of the economy and this and that. And I think there's a lot of people kind of telling women that they need to have kids,
Right.
I think it's a huge thing to have kids. You're putting your life at risk. You are signing up for a lifelong commitment, and you could have a lot of complications. And now you're responsible for this growing human. And so if you don't think that this is right for you, you don't think you're ready,
Yeah.
I respect that.
Same.
And I think that's so important to be able to support women either way.
Yeah.
If you're going to have kids, okay, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be a really good friend. I'm going to help you out. And if you decide not to, I think that's amazing. And I'm going to support you regardless. And I think that, you can still be a great aunt. You can still be a great support system to somebody who is a mother. And I think we need more of that. Like, especially for women like your wife that have businesses and this and that. I think we need more women who are willing to step up and be that village.
100%. Because it does take a village.
But it takes a village, and we used to live so much closer, right? We used to live so much closer to family and friends and, the way that our houses were set up and everything. And I think that nowadays it's like, where I live, it's like all these little apartments in downtown. Most people just have a dog maybe. And we're pretty isolated. So I always talk, my friends always, and I always talk about like the commune. Like eventually I want to have like some sort of like community, right? Where maybe there's multiple families living together, sharing the house
Resources.
Sharing, food, being able to do things like that. Farming.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do I look like a farmer? No. I'll cut some basil, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what my future looks like. I think right now I'm really focused on growing my business.
Yeah.
Really focused on really learning. And
What are your next 5 years?
next 5 years, TED Talk. I'm going to do TED Talk. I want to become, I already am a national speaker, but I really want to push.
Why is the TED Talk important to you?
I think it's one of those things where I've just been watching TED Talks ever since I was a little girl, and the people that I've seen on them have become inspirations for me.
Okay.
One of them, like Heather Monahan, Nadine Burke-Harris. She's a world-renowned pediatrician. She had an amazing TED Talk on adverse childhood experiences. I think that there's a lot of really strong, experts and women that I've watched that have had TED Talks, and I aspire to be like them. And so I think it's one of those things where I'll probably do it and then I'll be like, But I think that's a bucket list thing for me.
Right, just check it off.
Just check it off. Definitely expanding my speaking and training, as I talked to you before about like courses. Developing courses for different industries, teaching them how to leverage AI specific to those industries. Really working with the development company that I work with, growing that. We have a lot of new clients coming in, basically creating custom AI chatbots and AI agents, and then really developing myself as a professional. And I think that 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, if I'm sitting here at 32, I think I've accomplished that. And I think I would have hoped that I've also found balance. I think right now I'm working like a dog, like you said, crying a lot. I think being able to add a little bit more structure, like instead of working every day for 10 to 12 hours,
more bots,
more automation, more being able to hire maybe a few other people, being able to have my courses, for example, making money while I sleep, being able.
What's your course on exactly?
So I'm building a few. So the first one is going to be on how to leverage Canva's AI tools.
Okay.
So Canva is really great for small businesses, great for nonprofits, and it has a lot of apps, for example, that can generate videos, that can generate images. You can actually use magic sheets, which is kind of like their own Excel.
Yes.
You can use magic formulas, so you don't even have to like know the formula. You can use natural language, type it in, a prompt, and it does the formula.
When's that coming out?
It already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Great.
months ago. And so when I do my trainings, I do a lot of demos.
What's it called?
It's called Magic Sheets
Send me the link
inside of Canva.
and I'll make sure. No,
Oh, my training.
for your course.
Yes.
Yes. When's that coming out?
Hopefully by the end of October.
Got it.
So
Once it's out, send me the link. I'll add it to the description of this podcast, and I also want to buy it.
my first customer.
Let's go.
So
I use Canva all day, and my
Oh my
team
God,
would love
so-
to know that.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I just did a training last week, and I had this woman. She texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, you just saved me like 10 hours," because she was used to doing everything in Excel.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is you can create a sheet, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you put all in one column. You put all of the quotes that you have, for
Okay.
example. You can use a feature called bulk create to create the same background but with a different quote on it. It just automatically like shows you, like, just creates it
That's
for you.
awesome.
We'll do a one-on-one. I'll show you how to
Let's
do
do it. How did you discover all this?
it. Just self-taught.
Just playing around with it.
I was using Canva probably when I was 15. So one of my first jobs, actually I was still in high school, was creating social media content for an author.
Wow.
And eventually I did it, as an intern. One of my first jobs was that. And I just self-taught, learned how to use Canva because I had
Makes sense.
to.
Yeah.
And then I also was teaching other like younger interns how to use it as well. And so then when all these new features came out, I just did deep dives on, how do I use all of these? YouTube, Canva has like a design school too, which is mostly for like students and teachers. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, people are not really using these different features for the industries that I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
So I did a training on Canva the other day, and I was showing them, okay, let's say for a nonprofit, you have all your program data. Okay, so how would I use magic formulas to help me, right? How would I use what they call magic insights, where you can basically in natural language say, hey, summarize what's going on in this sheet. And it gives you like high level insights.
That's
right?
incredible.
You can create charts. You can do a bunch of things. And I like Canva because it's affordable.
Yeah.
So if you're a nonprofit, it's free. Mm-hmm. If you're a small business and you have a few users,
It's super cheap.
It's a few $100s.
Yeah.
And so the barrier to entry is less than, for example, paying for a bunch of different other platforms.
Right.
And then what I make all my slides on Canva. I have my brand kit. I have my logos. I can then share the design with my assistant and be like, hey, change this and this and that. I really like it. And
It's
so
awesome.
that's been a tool that I've been promoting. And I really encourage anybody who hasn't used it, definitely start playing around with it. There's a learning curve though,
Yeah.
because if you've never used it, you might be like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is.
There's like a lot.
a lot
and
going
so
on.
in my course, I'm going to
It's almost like Photoshop at this point.
yeah,
With the options, I mean, so
there's
many options. Yeah.
And then there's actually full-blown creators now that's all they do on Instagram is like show you tips and tricks,
On Canva.
on
Yeah.
Canva. And so it's really, honestly, one-stop shop. It also has AI integrated within it. So you can use what's called Magic Write. So instead of taking the copy that you're writing, take it out of Canva, put it into ChatGPT, you can just use Canva's own AI. You can train it with your voice.
Is it ChatGPT in the back end or no? Do you know?
I actually don't know that. I don't know. It probably is one of the large language
One of the
models.
four, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that. It's a good question. But I like it because when you're like deep in the zone, you don't want to be like toggling between
Right.
20 different things.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you want to get inspired. Like I sometimes go into Canva's AI. I'm like, hey, can you create like a logo for me? Can you create something? And it's not really like I'm going to use maybe the finished product.
Right.
But I just kind of want to play around.
Right.
I want to see what the different options are. And so I really loved using it. And I wouldn't promote something that I don't inherently use myself.
You would kill if you had your own YouTube channel. You'd kill. Do you know why?
Tell me why.
To your point, right? I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of AI YouTube, and they're all male.
Really?
Every single one of them are all male. There's no female talking about it.
When I was driving here, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I find that for the most part, I'm usually the only female speaker. I'm usually only the young speaker. Because there's other women that have been in the tech space for a long time, and they might be, for example, like the CFO of some of these really large tech
Right.
companies, but they're in their 50s.
No, for sure.
You know, they're in their
yeah,
60s.
Yeah.
Like,
You're definitely the youngest female I've ever met
Really?
that talks about AI. Yes.
wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think so, and I've tried to build my brand. Like, you know, I keep my bob. I need to get it recut, but I want to create, you know, this person, you know, this
Yeah,
persona.
of course.
You know, and so I always talk about like I'm the bot queen. You know, so and self-proclaimed
That'd be a great YouTube channel.
the bot queen. Mm-hmm. So I started my YouTube channel.
Okay.
I only have one video up.
Okay.
It's just a like basics on how to use ChatGPT to create a custom GPT.
Got it.
Very bare bones.
Okay.
It links to my AI playbook, which
Got
I
it.
give out for free. I think honestly, there's some sort of barrier for me right now where maybe I need to like set up a podcast like a studio or something, because welcome to my club. But it's just one of those things where I think I'm not.
We
yet.
do that here, FYI.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's one
I
of
have a
those
guy
things-
that rents the studio out. We changed the whole set for him, and he shoots his episodes from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I think that especially if, I want other women to not see AI as something that's foreign, and
Right.
to see themselves in me,
Right.
and be able to relate.
It also feels very manly, a part of it. It's not soft. AI is not, you know what I mean? It's very mechanical in that sense.
Right.
So I think you can really bring a woman's touch to it and really help a lot of women connect to it.
I think that's what I've been doing, because the feedback I've gotten on my trainings that I do is, wow, like you make it fun.
Yeah.
I joke around. I have different examples. I try to make it accessible. And then I'm not trying to sell you anything. So a lot of people use training as a lead magnet.
Right.
Right. And with me, I don't do that. I actually wholeheartedly want to add value to you. I want you to leave knowing how to use these things: magic sheets, magic write.
Okay.
And I want you to feel successful.
Got it.
And so people see that because that's what my intention is.
Right.
If I was then had an intention to sell you something, then it wouldn't have the same feel to it,
I think it depends.
you know?
I think you can have the intent, but you're being humble about it.
Right.
You're not pressing it on someone's face.
Yeah. And that's what I've tried to do
Yeah.
is I started out doing free trainings, then I started charging more. Now I'm doing the courses.
Good.
But then I'm building people. I'll send you this photo later. There's this woman and she comes to all my trainings. I'm not going to say her name, and she came up to me yesterday and she's like, "Don't think that I'm avoiding you. I couldn't sign up for the next training." And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And so what I want to create is a community, right?
Yes.
Where people feel like, "Hey, this isn't scary anymore."
Do you have one built?
Nope.
Got to build a school community.
School community.
Tell your assistant.
All right.
SKOOL.
I know.
Okay.
He was actually talking about that.
Yeah.
So he's a really smart kid. He helped me redesign my website.
Nice.
It's all about, we did a whole thing with the playbook, email automation, helping me build my newsletter. So honestly, I did my first free training in December.
Okay.
And so,
Under a year.
yeah, so I've really been trying to build that up. And then I had my first, I think I had my first paid speaking gig a few months later.
Wow.
And then I did my first travel paid speaking gig at the beginning of September.
Congrats.
So I got flown out to Vegas to do a 1-hour session in front of a live audience. And that was like a real validation that I needed.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes you're like in your head, about it. And then, my fans, the bot queeners that have,
The bot queeners.
I need a better name.
That's awesome. The shout out to the bot queeners.
Shout out to the bot queeners.
The BQs.
So actually, they call me BQ. So my two business partners, Javier and Thomas, who run the development company, like in the most professional way, they call me BQ.
That's awesome.
And so all the time I get voice notes from Javier, and he's like, "Hey, BQ." And sometimes the AI that transcribes it, like makes it sound like transcribes it as something different.
It's funny.
But yeah, I'm BQ. And so the bot queeners, the BQs, I really want to do this because I want to help people. And I honestly think that I'm well on my way.
You are.
I'd love to talk to you after this about some tips and tricks.
Let's do it.
Of how to build a community, what that looks like. And, you know, I also don't want to spread myself too thin. I think that right now I'm like you said, like, should I do a podcast? And I'm like, but then the courses, like, I want to right now focus on what's going to generate me the most money.
Right. The best way to do it would be to daisy chain them, right? So they all rely on the other. Mm-hmm. So like you're not wasting
podcasts.
I'm sorry?
Like you use the podcast for authority, and then you you know, develop the courses obviously to monetize it, but then also to feed into, you know, maybe it's something right now, like I want to do the training as a way to obviously make money.
Of course.
But then for the work that I do with the development company, where we do anything from like developing custom AI chats to integrations, the course and the speaking gigs feeds into that. And those can become pretty large projects.
Right.
You know, like some of the smaller ones are like 5,000, but then we have 20,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of custom build outs.
Right. So then how, for example, YouTube or a podcast, either or, how it would tie into that, you would talk about it. You would discuss and show examples and show models and show how you do it. Right. So you're building a digital catalog on YouTube of what you do. So you get, you know, a much larger viewership that's coming to you so that you can get all those leads as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. It's been incredible. It's been about 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My throat is, I need to go get my parking.
Do me a favor. Look at that camera. Let everyone know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can get your course, your website, whatever you want to share.
So my name is Caitlen Macias, and I am the Bot Queen. And you can find me at botqueen.ai. It's my website. At botqueen.ai on social media. And then on LinkedIn, you can find me as Caitlen Macias. I'd love to chat and hear more about how you're leveraging AI. Thanks, and see you next time.
Incredible.
Was good?
It's great. You're incredible. Hold on one second. Guys, that was incredible. We just had a 2-hour conversation with the Bot Queen. Probably the youngest, smartest person I've spoken to about AI. Go follow her, like, subscribe, buy her course. Hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.